I think it's important for game designers to have a working definition of what a game is. So they have constraints they can play with. And that working definition doesn't necessarily have to be a definition that they always abide by, but it gives them a set of rules that they can break, or they can not break if they choose not to. So the definition that I go by is based off of Jane McGonigal's definition, but with a couple key differences. It's that for a game to be a game, the player has to think that the game has these four elements. The game has voluntary participation, the game has an end state, the game has a feedback system, and the game has rules. Those are the four things that the player has to think the game has. And the reason I say the player has to think is that these can be illusions. The game doesn't necessarily need any one of these things. The player just has to think it has it. Which means, to me, if there's a small kid sitting at an arcade cabinet on like the press put in a coin to start the game screen, and the kid's meshing the buttons thinking that he's playing that start screen, he's playing the game to me. And as long as that illusion's kept up, that kid is playing a game because he thinks he is. And it'd be weird to take that away from someone when someone thinks they're interacting with a system and thinks that they're getting feedback, and all these things they think apply to them. It's weird to tell them no. Like that just doesn't work. Like it's hard to tell somebody when they're enjoying interacting with a system, even though they may not actually be controlling things, that they're not playing a game. So when you mention like at what point does it become a tool, that's very perception based to me. It has to do with does the player think it's a game? Do they think? I mean, first off, is it voluntary or do they think it's voluntary? Secondly, are there rules that they think they're obeying? Is there a feedback system? Do they think there's a feedback system? And finally, like, is there an end state? Like, will there be an end of this experience? That's the other key difference. In a lot of other game definitions, they don't say end state; they say goal. But for instance, like temporality, there is no goal. The game kind of goes and eventually it ends. And it's not a simulation, like there is a defined end to the game, but you're not necessarily working towards this. You are kind of, I was going to say temporality, or, you are working towards it time-wise, but you're not working towards it, like you're not building towards it. You're not achieving things to reach that end state.